Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today, we are continuing our ongoing coverage of the war between the Russian Federation and Ukraine. And today in the news, the big news coming out of the region is an alleged assassination attempt by Ukraine against Russian President Vladimir Putin. At least that's what the Kremlin, that's what the Russian Federation is alleging. Is that what happened? Did we see a legitimate assassination attempt by the Ukrainian military, or was it by the Ukrainian intelligence services? Let's have a look and let's talk. Let's analyze what happened. So, as most of you have probably seen, a large quadcopter, possibly of civilian manufacturing, probably produced in China, was involved in an explosion, a detonation over the Kremlin. Now, given the size of this drone, it does not appear that there is any way possible that that drone could have made it from Ukrainian territory to Russian territory. So what we have is a group or individual located in the Moscow area that launched this quadcopter and then tried to attack a target in the Kremlin. Now, we know from the video footage there was explosives packed onto the quadcopter. So this was not a amateur operation. There appears to be at least plastic explosive or some other higher grade of explosive, given the size of the detonation and given the size of the quadcopter. So what did the quadcopter, the small civilian manufactured drone, that's maybe a stretch. Maybe it was a military grade quadcopter. Difficult to say. We can't be sure either way. It looks, as I look at the footage, it looks like a civilian manufactured quadcopter, one of the larger quadcopters that you could purchase at any large department store. So what did the quadcopter attack? Well, we believe it attacked the Russian Senate building, this area right here. And it looked like it flew in, and its goal was to blow up and knock down the Russian flag on the Russian Senate building. That was the target. That's the building that was hit. And if you watch mainstream news media here in the United States, some of those mainstream news media outlets say it accidentally hit a flagpole and then blew up. I don't believe that's what happened. I don't believe it accidentally hit this flagpole. I think this flagpole was its intended target. I really do. I think the target was to blow up, knock down the flag on top of the Russian Senate building. Now, we hear that there was another a quadcopter involved in the attack. We don't know where that one blew up or was brought down. But nonetheless, this is where the quadcopter, this drone system, impacted and then detonated. And look, we know it wasn't an explosion created by a quadcopter crash. Quadcopters, when they crash, they don't blow up like that. So it had to have been carrying ordnance. It had to have been some sort of bomb or explosive device attached to the quadcopter. Now, we have seen, at least on the battlefield in Ukraine, we have seen the Ukrainians using these quadcopters quite expansively. We have seen the use of these quadcopters to attack Russian forces. Now, that wasn't the same in which we would see a quadcopter drop a mortar bomb or a small explosive-shaped charge onto a tank. That's not what happened here. This was a kamikaze quadcopter that flew in, hit the Russian Senate building, and then detonated. So was it an actual assassination attempt on the Russian president? Probably not. Probably not. Unless they had some sort of intelligence that indicated that that Vladimir Putin was hanging out in this area here at that time, and they decided that's how they were going to target him. But other than that, the idea that this was an assassination attempt is kind of nonsensical. It really is. It again, as I said before, it looks like that quadcopter was going after the flagpole on top of the Russian Senate building. That's where it hit, and in all likelihood, that's what whoever they are, were trying to do. Again, we don't believe the quadcopter was launched from Ukraine proper. In all likelihood, it was a individual or group of individuals operating probably within a mile radius of the Kremlin when it was launched, that quadcopter. So very interesting to see what the Russian response will be. The Russians are alleging, yes, this was an assassination attempt and are treating it accordingly. Is this a pretext for additional Russian actions against Ukraine? Could we start to see the Russians actively start targeting political leaders in Ukraine? Difficult to say at this point. But again, this is what has happened, and there will probably be ramifications one way or another. It will be interesting to see. Also, the weather is improving in eastern Ukraine. I believe for the next week, it will be in the 60s and at times up to 70 degrees. The rain is starting to stop. We're not seeing as much rain, especially in eastern Ukraine. The information that I have is partly cloudy, partly sunny skies, 50 degrees, 60 degrees, 70 degrees, and things are starting to dry out. And with that, drying out, that lack of rain and the drying out of the soil is going to give way to offensive operations, meaning tanks, tracked vehicles, wheeled vehicles will have the ability to operate over ground in Ukraine and not have to worry about getting stuck. So it'll be very interesting in the coming days and weeks ahead what happens next. We are continuing to hear about this reported Ukrainian offensive taking place. We have seen video footage of Ukrainian strikers and Bradleys operating in company-sized formations. Again, how many of those have actually been delivered? Difficult to say. Do the Ukrainians have the ability to launch a large offensive operation against the Russians at this point? We just don't know. But we are going to find out certainly in the days and weeks ahead, and we will continue to analyze the situation. Thank you for joining us today. More to come very, very soon. Have a good day.